This afternoon, I am opening a hearing on cybersecurity. We are going to examine the efforts to protect the American people from cyber threats, to protect our domains of .mil, .gov, and .com. We need to make sure that the American people know what our programs are, know what we're spending our money for, and also to make sure that we make wise use of taxpayer dollars so that there are no techno boondoggles. We hope to make sure we know how to help the private sector and to protect .com by real-time information sharing about threats and helping the private sector to develop the secure technologies we need. We need to prevent hackers, nation states, and criminals from stealing our identities, cyber espionage, cyber sabotage against our online commerce or our critical infrastructure, track and disrupt the hackers, and prosecute them when possible. I have two goals for this hearing. First, I'm going to make sure that we protect the American people from cyber threats by working together across the government to protect, as I said, the domains of .mil, .gov, and .com. Second, I want to examine how agencies will use cybersecurity funding in the budget. The administration is requesting over $13 billion for fiscal 2014. In this very stringent environment, we are concerned about techno boondoggles. The government is often very good at spending money, but we need to make sure we spend the money well. Over the years, there have been failures and inefficiencies in government IT programs, and we don't want to happen as we move forward in this cyber domain. I call this hearing as the full committee chairwoman to work across the subcommittees to make sure there aren't stovepipes, to make sure as we look at this, the questions that we have related to governance, are we developing the right technologies to protect us? Are we investing in the workforce we need? And how do we protect our civil liberties? I am so proud of my subcommittee chairs. I want to acknowledge the work of Senator Durbin and the ranking member Cochran on defense. I want to acknowledge the work of Chairwoman Landrieu, her ranking member, Senator Coates, both with a great deal of expertise. For me, we will have the FBI and NIST, and my great Vice Chairman, Senator Shelby. This is a committee that is loaded with talent in this area, coming with enormous expertise from the Authorizing Committee. We have Senator Leahy from the Judiciary Committee, well-versed on the issues of law on cybersecurity and a staunch protector of our civil liberties. We have Chairwoman Feinstein on the Intelligence Committee. From Armed Services, we have Reed, Shaheen, Graham, and Blunt. We have the former chair of the Homeland Security Committee, Senator Collins, herself now a member of the Intel Committee. Rarely has a committee had so much talent coming together from both those of us from appropriations as well as the authorizers. I hope that our country has a sense of urgency. We are already under attack. This is the new enduring war. We are in a cyber war every day. Every time someone steals our identity, steals our state secrets or our trade secrets, we are at war. We now see the growing nexus between cyber criminals and nation states, hacking our networks, planning disruptions of our business operations. Director Mueller of the FBI said that cybercrime will eventually surpass terrorism as our #1 threat to America. Secretary Hagel and General Dempsey continue to warn us against cyber as an insidious threat. These are such critical concern that the President Obama, in his recent meeting with the Chinese president, raised cybersecurity as one of our great international tensions between both countries. Now, last year, we tried to pass cybersecurity legislation. We all worked on a bipartisan basis. It was actually under the Collins-Lieberman bill. But it didn't happen. The president's issued an executive order, and But just because authorizing hasn't happened doesn't mean that nothing is happening. So in February, the President signed his executive order, and it improves real-time information sharing, protects critical infrastructure, provides critical infrastructure and cyber risk, and brings private sector experts into the federal service. Each one of these goes through a different subcommittee, but here today, we're going to do something pretty different. And I bring to your attention the President's fiscal 14 budget on the areas of cybersecurity. This will be the first time in one place that we can look across all of the areas to make sure we know what the request is, what they are, not only in individual agencies, but do we get the synergistic effect necessary to protect our country. It is significant that this document that you all have, which is a public document, that we have in one place, one-stop shop, really what the President is requesting. The President of the United States, in his budget message to Congress, has asked for $13 billion in order to execute the cybersecurity strategy across the agencies of the federal government. The purpose of this hearing today is to look at the cybersecurity threat. Not every program from the National Security Agency, not every program being run by Homeland or the Department of Justice or the great work being done by NIST. It is to focus on the cybersecurity. But it is a committee first, and I might say a Senate first. No other committee has tried to hold a hearing across the different domains, agencies, and smokestacks, and also to do it in an open, public way. And the expertise, as I said here, from both the subcommittee chairs and the authorizing is stunning. So we know that we're going to be able to do it. The President has asked for $13 billion, $9.3 billion in the Department of Defense, $1.3 billion in Homeland Security, $670 million in Justice, primarily the FBI, and NIST $215 million. NIST has never seen $215 billion. That's the defense guys. Today we'll hear from our government's lead people in this, General Alexander, the director of the National Security Agency and the head of Cyber Command, Rand Beers, the acting deputy secretary of Homeland Security, Dr. Gallagher, the acting deputy secretary of Commerce, but the director of NIST, and Richard McFeely, the FBI executive assistant director in charge of criminal, cyber, and response and service branch. I also want to acknowledge that in the last several days, many intelligence issues have been in the press. In my CJS, and I understand that these are issues that are very much on the public's mind and members of the Senate. Last week, in my Commerce Justice hearing, with the Attorney General, this topic, particularly our surveillance program, came up. I pledged to Senator Shelby, a former chair of the Intelligence Committee, well-versed on the topic, not of the surveillance, but on this, that we would have a full committee hearing on that particular program. That's not today. That's for another day. I understand that our colleague, Senator Feinstein, the chair of the Intelligence Committee, has scheduled a briefing for all senators tomorrow. And Senator, this is the second hearing that Senator Feinstein has opened up the Intelligence Committee for a briefing for all senators to be able to participate. After the Feinstein meeting tomorrow, if Senator Shelby continues to recommend that this committee hold a hearing on this matter, I will be happy to comply. And I pledge that to you, sir. I did it last week and so on. But we'll see if it's necessary. And if deemed so, we certainly will. So again, today's hearing will focus on cyber threat, protecting the American people, protecting the taxpayer in their role as both citizen and taxpayer. I hope today's hearings will focus on this very important issue. And I say to my colleagues, this is a committee hearing that is a first. It will be not the last on this topic or other matters related to our national security.